What's up, everybody, man? Thank you guys for tuning in to, our first agent to CEO conversation. And I like to kind of change up the conversations every now and then. We've, obviously we run our expert mentor series, which the gentleman that we're going to be chatting with today has been on. We also have had conversations. I think we did them during the pandemic. It was kind of coffee and coaching, and then we kind of transitioned actually to kind of the coach code conversations, and really with the direction of where I believe agents need to be thinking now, coming out of the unicorn years into back to being more intentional, being more proactive, being more mindful. There's no better framework than what it takes to go from just being an agent to really becoming the CEO of your business and the CEO of your life. And I'm excited to have my good friend, Mr. Steve Freeman, in the house with us. Steve, welcome.
Yes, sir. It's funny you said that. It kind of goes into, I had an email this morning come into me. It's funny, and it says the topic was market is changing. Are you? My first thought was the market's already changed. Why have you not?
Yeah, that's a great point. That's a great point.
It just came in this morning, and when you said that, I was like, man, that popped like a light bulb. Yeah, so things are changing, and we do have to adapt, and they always do, right? They never stay the same.
And I was excited, thinking through kind of the conversation yesterday on my walk, and again this morning, and I was like, Steve's like one of the perfect people to, kickstart these conversations, because I mean, your career is a long and successful one, but you've almost done it all, and really being able to give such a unique perspective of, times and seasons and ups and downs and, trends and new brokerages to where things are at today. And, you have one of the most unique perspectives of any agent within the real estate space that I know of, to be able to kind of share, kind of what it takes to become, really the CEO of your business, and really, my take on it, you got to become the CEO of your life before that's even possible.
And you and I have worked on that a lot, and I will thank you a lot for that. Nobody succeeds alone, and I believe you say it too. Everybody needs a coach. It's real easy to get blinded inside of your own ditches, so you do need outside perspective to help. And a lot of times, me and you is just talking through it, like it's self-discovery, but it's there. And yeah, I mean, probably the only thing I really haven't done at a high level is probably senior management in a bigger company. But as far as like companies and businesses, yeah. I mean, of course, my mom was a broker, my dad builder, my granddad builder. So, I mean, this is really all we do.
You grew up in it, right? It was just part of who, you just didn't know any different, right? It was just, this is how we, this is life, right?
My mom talked me out of quitting Delta Airlines to come work with her. That's a true story too. So
yeah.
The dynamics worked out good, and thank you, Mom, for doing that. But but it's she did it. But hey, look, it's and I think it's funny. I went back to look at some of our stuff before we did this. I'm not a gloom and doom person. I just like to try to kind of make some forecasts and things like that, right? Dude, like some of these things I said a year ago were dead on it. So
and I think you see trends, and you see things where it might not be exactly repeating itself, but they're a close relative. And so you get down to kind of principles, and you get down to, set stages. And really that's what it takes to become, from agent to CEO. And, for me, that first step is absolute clarity. And like you said, really taking inventory of where you're at, and then really getting clear on where you want to go.
Yes.
And you've done a really good job of that. And especially over the last, even couple of years, being very strategic, seeing out front, making decisions, because that's really what it also comes down to, is making decisions that position you to, kind of that future of where you're trying to get to. So like for you, just kind of expand upon, that clarity aspect, because a lot of agents want to jump in. They're like, hey, Steve, give me the tactics. What do I need to do here? What do I need to do there? And they're skipping a bunch of steps. And that first step is like, I don't know. Let's get clear. Where are you at and where do you want to go?
Well, I mean, here's the good news. It took me a decade. And I say a decade, that's just to kind of get to where I finally decided where I really kind of wanted to go. I mean, I've been doing this. This is 29 years. June will be 30 years. So 29 and a half years. The last 10 years has been just to, look at where I need to think I have to be in 2 years. And we talk about this. It's almost like a chess move, right? Like I'm trying to look 2 moves ahead for the move that I make today.
Right.
And the other thing was really recognizing that I needed me time as well. And that I go through that burnout stage. I won't say burnout because mine's different. I've never burned out in this business. It's just that it affects me on my health. If I don't every 90 days or so take 3, 4, 5 days off, the compounding effect that takes place there, it just catches me. So now I've learned that every 90 days, block out those 3, 4, 5 days, whatever it is, shut down, come back hard.
Well, I think that's, part of it, right? Is a large level of self-awareness and really listening. And I know, you've gone through a lot of trial and error to be able to get to that point. And we were seeing kind of a trend, we were going a couple months and you were like, I mean, I could see it. Right. I was like, I can be like, man, Steve, something's off a little bit. When's the last time that we got away? And what that does is because our bodies naturally build stress and build those stress levels. And if you've got any, type of, anything going on health wise, that's kind of compromised in any way, when that stress level goes up, it really just, it brings it to light, right? Anything that's compromised. And I know you've had some things with your health, and I could always tell, man, that stress level was high. And the getaway is important because that getaway helps us get connected with some type of nature that excites us, either water or trees or the lake or the mountains.
Doesn't matter. Anything. 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 Like just, that 24-hour shutdown that we talk about. Is I don't care where go in the desert. Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. That's the biggie, and you're right. So like sometimes, like for me, I can ignore things that's going on, right? Like if I don't feel quite well or my blood pressure, whatever, right? Like I can ignore it. But when 90 days creeps up and I've ran hard for 90 days, all of a sudden I can't ignore it anymore, and there it is, and it's worse than what it really probably should have been. So those are big moves, and people have been a struggle, with that the hardest thing that I ever did was, I had to change away from a assistant that I loved, and I still love her, and change to a different platform. And so she was no longer with me, but that pain of doing that escalated my business to a different place that I was kind of back to being stuck in the rut, right? Like I couldn't move forward because I was so focused on my friendship, and I just couldn't move forward. I was stuck in I call it quicksand. When the quicksand was there, I was just stuck in it. And like every time I tried to move, I just sunk deeper. And then finally, when I made that transition, the rope was there and it pulled me out.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's, that is that level of self-awareness, right? And that's what it's constantly taking of getting clear. And, the agent to CEO kind of the process, it's not really a linear path. It's more of I like to talk about it as it's really, it does that, but it's also kind of a flywheel effect, right? It kind of builds on each other, and the more, and what we're looking for, and you and I talk about this, is where's the momentum? Where are we gaining momentum? And when we're not clear and we're avoiding, we're not self-aware, we're not, doing the things to keep our creativity high, keep our focus high. And then we lose that level of clarity, and we lose sight of the goal.
Right. And that's the main thing. Like, I mean, I have goal. I'm a goal person. And Lord will tell you, like, there's nobody that hits goals like I do. If I say I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it. Now, I have set some of them a little bit too far to where I can't reach, and that's fine. That just pushes me. But I don't get discouraged with that because I actually know that I pushed it to if I made it, meaning like, wow, if I don't, I'm not going to beat myself up over it, but certain levels, there's a no compromise.
Right.
It's got to be met, period. The ones that I push, I actually know I push, and it's okay.
Yeah. And those are important too, Steve, because that leads me into kind of the next step with clarity. It's like, what's the destination? What's the vision that we have? And how does this business that you're designing, that big scary vision, align to the life that you're wanting to live, to your freedom, right? That's what the vision is really what's freedom for you.
Right. And it's time. Freedom's always time, but time has got to be offset by income. So you got to have the income to have the time typically. And,
right.
And so that's been a big focus is, where can we help other people to help us to where that they have a phenomenal lifestyle. We have a phenomenal lifestyle, and it's just a great blend, and like, I mean, most of the people that are on my team, they've been with me 3-4 years now. There's very few that come in and go out.
How do you push, not only yourself, but how do you push them to get clear? What's their goal? What's their freedom? What's their vision?
That's the thing though, it's theirs.
Right.
It's theirs. It's not mine, and
right.
So if it doesn't match up to what I need, then we just bring somebody else in, but their goal is their goal. Right. And if we've got a hole there, we just need to fill it with somebody else. I can't make them do what I want them to do. They're not me. And that was a big thing too, by the way. You expect certain things out of certain people, but nobody's going to be yourself.
Right.
Nobody's going to be you. And so you can't run people expecting them to be like you. You have to run them like they are. And I'm saying I'm not running. You have to help, coach and guide. I'm not running anybody. But getting them there, that's the key, right? And then it's their discovery, it's their goals. And hopefully we get enough people that where their goals match my goals, and then we all win.
Right. Together, we're rowing together. And you said a couple of things when we started, the coach side of things. And to me, that coach relationship is what you said. It's the guide that helps, the individual you get to where you're trying to go. And so even with the team members, it's the same thing, right? You're not the hero. No. You're the guide helping them get to where they want to go.
Correct. And that's a biggie too. I'm not the hero.
Right. And it's hard for a lot of people too, because it's hard especially for a lot of agents, and you've been through 30 years of this and seeing the ups and downs within the real estate space, the real estate market. And sometimes it puts a lot of fear into these agents, and they can't think beyond survival. So how do you push them, or even push yourself to be like, okay, hey, I don't have anything on the board next month. I'm starting to panic a little bit. I'm starting to think about, hey man, I don't know what we're going to do for Christmas. I don't know how we're going to make it through the holidays. And how do you, we're talking big vision, destination, freedom. Like, how do you help yourself, but also help them look beyond just survival?
I think, I've always had the attitude, if it is to be, it's up to me. And if I'm not succeeding, I'm to fail. It's my fault. It's me to blame. And so we talk a lot about that everything that you put into this business, as hard as you work, is as hard as the stuff you'll get out. Right. And if you're sitting on your laurels and thinking it's going to come to you, it's just not. And that no matter what the market is, I hear everybody today, oh my God, the interest rate's so high. Look, my first house I bought was 10.25. Now, in relative scales, the prices weren't as high as they were. The interest rate was still high, right? People were still buying. My mom was selling at 18%. She just didn't know any better, Right. So people are always going to buy, and they're always going to sell. Like right now we talk about the D's. You got divorce, you got death, you got diamonds, where people are getting married or dying, or and especially me. Like 65% of my listing business right now is probate. It's my friends. I'm 53 years old, so our parents are 70, 80, 90, closer to 90. They're moving on, and now we're in the business of managing personality. So we just know that our business is moving a little bit to that end of the realm. we recognize it, right? So it's about positioning ourselves, and no matter what the market is, we've got a solution. 08 through 10. You did it. Y'all's company went neck deep into the REO, into the bank business, right?
Had to. That was the opportunity.
But see, I only went in on a limited basis because I didn't want my entire business to be revolved around it, because I knew that once it was gone, and I would have changed everything. And once it was gone, I've been having to recreate the entire wheel. So we tried to blend the two. So that's what I always, I'm always like, buyer, seller, which market is it? 3 years ago, I was a strong buyer agent. Today it's all listings. That's what we're after. Listings are the leverage of the business.
Yeah, 100%. So what I'm hearing you saying to be helpful for people to move beyond survival and think longer term is really focus on the things within your control.
That's correct. And don't worry about the things that you can't.
Yeah.
But always it's a positive attitude. It's just, you can't get caught in the negative. That's the one I will say. And look, I was the most cocky person for the first 20 years of my business. It took me 20 to learn not to be quite so arrogant and cocky. Now I understand that it's about just don't get locked in the negative. Find the positive in whatever it is and focus on that every day. Make people's lives better. That's our business. Then you're not in survival mode. You're in a business of trying to assist someone else that's in survival mode, because they're probably having trouble in their house if they're moving, right?
Yeah.
And then we're just creating a solution. So that I think that's been, you just can't get bogged down also in the clutter. That's the other thing. Like, I don't even check Facebook anymore. If y'all see me post and I'll tell you happy birthday, I'm sorry, my VAs do it. I just don't, and that's what Lori and I talked about last night. I don't get blocked down in all that chatter anymore.
Yeah, nonsense and noise, and it's so important. And really what we're talking about, and this is kind of the next phase, if you will, kind of moving through this flywheel we're trying to get started, that builds the momentum to go from from the agent to CEO. We get clear where we're at, where we want to go, what's freedom look like, what's that big vision, our values, how we make decisions aligned to who we are, kind of the purpose, the intent, that big, hairy, audacious goal, right? And I want to say one thing when you were talking about that. When we set big goals, it immediately forms a constraint in our mind, because as humans, we're wired to solve problems.
Right.
And then that kind of moves to the next step, which is, how are you thinking? Right. And you've said so many little nuggets, and these are all mental models, right? These are all frameworks. These are all like filters to run through to think differently, to think better. And when you look at theory of constraints, which is how we have to look at our business, how we have to look at our life, how we have to look at everything, and the biggest constraint is always in our thinking. Mm-hmm. And so what people don't have is they don't have the tools and the framework to be able to think accurately, think through that. And so it's like what you were saying. It's like, okay, where is the opportunity? What's really going on in the market? What's the data telling us? Like, what historically has happened when this has happened? Like, where is it? And you had mentioned, 07, 08, there was really two opportunities for us in our market, which is a small market, but it was a military base. Yeah. And we survived base realignment at that time, which was really nerve-wracking, but we were the beneficiary of the base realignment during that time. So two things were happening. One, short sales were happening because, everybody was way in over their head, but we're in a transient market, but then also new construction was happening at that time. Yep. So Kinder went all in on the short sales, and he was the short sale guru. Like, everybody knew, like, if you had a short sale, you send it to Kinder. Right. I latched on to a builder, which you have all kinds of builder experience. I latched onto a builder, and he was my number one client. I did everything for him. Right. I ran leads. I converted leads. I did everything around the builder, but that was the opportunity. And I think that's what a lot of agents need to understand right now is, where is the opportunity in today's market? But that's just different ways of thinking.
Well, so now I'll just go there real quick. I tell everybody right now, I think now's a prime time for a buyer to buy. I think the prices have kind of plateaued out. So you can buy at today's prices. The way you create a recession, you raise interest rates. The way you fix a recession, you lower the interest rates. It's going to happen, right? So you get it at today's prices. the interest rate's lower, you refinance, right? Then if the interest rates do lower, which they will, it's going to be like a Black Friday. We don't have the inventory. It's going to drive prices up. Guess what? You won twice.
Yeah.
So I think the buyers are in a phenomenal position. You got to be able to tell that story.
Yeah.
Got to be able to. So that's, you talk about how we keep people motivated and how we keep them focused on Christmas. Sell that story.
Yeah. Yeah. I think it's latching on, understanding the data, modeling the conversations, finding the truth. And I think that's, what people are really looking for. They're looking for people that can give them accurate information, to help them overcome what they're trying to do, but with conviction, with belief, right? And the easiest way there is with proof. And you necessarily maybe personally don't have to have proof, but you can borrow proof. Yeah, you can borrow that proof. Yeah. So with the thinking side of things, Steve, we got this framework. We're able to kind of work through it. We find constraints. We're able to do it. But you said, it was kind of what we were talking about. Where's the opportunity? And that gets into kind of the reinvention or the constant iteration of your business and your business model.
Yeah.
And really the easiest way to think about that is, who's the ideal client? Who's the opportunity in the market? And what promise can you make to them that you can make and keep, right? So you can make a promise to a buyer, a seller, investor, a builder. If you're recruiting agents to another agent, the promise you make to them, but you also got to keep that promise.
Well, I love Deion Sanders. Deion Sanders, if he says it, he's a loudmouth. He darn sure backs it up.
Right.
Right. That's why I like him. I mean, there's nothing the guy doesn't say that he doesn't do.
Right.
So, anyways, but that's another story. But I do like, but it's the truth though, right? Like, I mean, I take him to heart. I mean, if he says he's going to do something, he does it. And that's the same thing. If we say we're going to do something, we got to do it.
We got to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
I was going to say real quick too, don't be afraid of change. That's the biggest thing too. I love my Lori, but sometimes she thinks that when I'm moving, it's a self-destructive pattern at first until she sees the very end materialized to what I saw. So your vision is your vision, but if you see your vision, you got to move towards it. And you can't be afraid that if it, rearranges everything and changes everything, that it's not going to come out like what you see, but you got to see it.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. And that goes back to vision, goes back to the way you think about things. But then it's if you look at business model, it's like, okay, well, who do I want to make a promise to that I can keep, right? And kind of what I'm uniquely gifted or skilled to do. And like you said, working with buyers right now is great. Buyers that have to buy.
Yeah.
Working with sellers that have to sell. And that's really, I think right now where the opportunity is the have tos. The want tos are sitting, but it's not trying to convince them. It's like, okay, cool. I'll keep nurturing on you when you're ready, but I'm going to go take care of the people that have to do something now. And I think that's what we have to be aware of when we're looking at kind of who our ideal clients are at this time, is identifying who those people, what are their pain points, what are their desires, and how can I, help them achieve what they're trying to achieve.
Right. That's spot on. Dead on.
Yeah. The other thing too, that is in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of effort and sacrifice, right? On their part. Because that's all they care about, right? They want the ease of all of this. Oh, I got you back. I lost you for a second.
Yeah, I'm going to switch internet providers in a second. Go ahead. Sorry.
So once we kind of know kind of the model and the things we're doing, then this is where strategy really comes in. This is really where what's the game plan that we're going to, to overcome the challenges and the obstacles that we have, that we're focused on, right? What we're committed to solving, to get more traffic, right? Better conversion, and deliver on our promise, which is fulfillment. There's only three things in business. Any business, it's three things: traffic, conversion, fulfillment.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter if you're working with buyers, sellers, investors, builders, recruiting agents. It's those three things. And that's where you got to kind of identify. And this goes back to your thinking. It's like, okay, in my business right now, and where is the biggest shortage? Where is that biggest constraint? Is it that, man, I just don't have enough people? Is it that I have people, but I just don't know how to convert them? Or I can convert them, but I mean, I'm struggling fulfilling on my promise, right? Like, I acquire a buyer, but being able to, they agree to do business with me, but getting them into a home, I'm not fulfilling on it. Or I list somebody's house and I'm not able to get it sold. I'm not fulfilling on it. That's the fulfillment side of things. Or, recruiting agents and you make all of these promises. Like, we know there's a lot of people out there making a lot of empty promises and being able to convert them, but they're not able to fulfill, which is get them selling houses. That's all, retention is production. And that's where, that's the fulfillment. That's what I'm talking about. Where are you seeing the biggest challenges and the struggles when it comes down to the plan, the strategy, really overcoming the biggest constraints in the real estate space right now?
Well, I think you hit it a little bit, right? There's the Christmas is coming. What am I going to do? There's 19 million agents in the market, and you've got to differentiate yourself and why you're better and why they would use you, right? I think you kind of just hit the nail on the head with that. How do you continue that placement of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And your company has to do the fulfillment is like, how do I continue to keep ourselves out front so that the people around me succeed under the umbrella that we've created?
Right.
That's the fulfillment part, right? Like, we've got to continue to keep everything coming onto the umbrella. And then, like you just said, like the ones that are just not ready, man, you just kind of keep them in your world, but you don't spend like your focus of your time there.
Yeah.
Your focus has to be on the people that are ready.
Yeah. And I always kind of like using the analogy of, help the people that are swimming to the boat.
Yeah.
And, so many people, they just believe they can help anybody, which most people can.
Yeah.
You got to help people that are wanting help.
Right.
And it's just, it's crazy to see. You see these agents, and you see people just in general in business. They're like, people are reaching out, they're looking for help, but yet they're trying to throw the life preserver over those people to the person that's swimming away from them. And I think when you can kind of shift that perspective, then it's like, okay, I need to help these people. It's more of like triage, right? From a time allocation where you need to allocate your time. Well, who's bleeding out right next to you? That's who you need to be helping. Don't go over there and try to help the person that has a little bit of a cough. Help this person that's bleeding out right here.
Yeah. I need a stitch, and I'm going to bypass him for the person that's got a gunshot. Yeah, no.
Right.
Yeah, you're right. I love that analogy that it's people swimming to the boat. Grab them.
Because it helps. It helps.
You can swim your behind all and swim past somebody that needed you, by the way. I love this analogy. You can swim right by somebody that needed you, trying to save the person that's not really interested in you right this second.
Right.
And you missed it.
Yeah. And the thing too with that is that some people just want to float out there and want to see what you're doing to help these people before they start swimming to your boat. Yeah. So it's like, help the people that need help. And people pay attention to that. People see that.
And they gravitate to it.
And they do, man. They'll start swimming to the boat once they see that how well of a job you help the people that are trying to get in. Yeah. It's such a great way to think about it. And it helps put together, and that's the way I like to think about strategy, because it's kind of overwhelming a little bit. The thing about strategy, a good strategy, which I like to use plan. What's our plan? A good strategy, a good plan is solving the right problem. Where people don't even address it, they just pay attention to the goal. They help the person that's just floating around out there. That's a bad strategy. That's a bad plan. And so kind of the litmus test is like, hey, Steve, is this solving the problem? Mm-hmm. And you're like, yeah, this is my big problem. This is helping me solve it. Great. Then this is a good plan.
Yeah. And you just focus right on those people.
That's it. Yeah. And perfect segue into, there's overarching things, but that last step is really people, right? What does my team have to look like in order for me to execute on this good plan within this business model to the right people that we can make a promise that we can keep? and we're going to get our message out through all of these different avenues, through, through social media, through pay-per-click, through Facebook ads, through YouTube channels, through postcards, through, picking up the phone, making phone calls, prospecting, to billboards, to, radio, to whatever, right? How are we getting that message out in pursuit, because we're thinking about it the right way, in pursuit of this big vision that we have. And yet it also goes the other way around, right? This is what I'm talking about. This is how it becomes a flywheel, because when you get the people, and I want to come back to people because I think the people could be the most important part. But when you get better people, you get better clarity. Mm-hmm. When you get better clarity, you get a better clarity on the vision. You start to think better, you get a better model, you get a better plan, you get more better people. And then it keeps going. And that's how you build the momentum and you go from agent to CEO. And the people are who you need on the team at the given time.
Right.
And, we're really looking for A players on that team. And by definition of A player is somebody that can get the function done 90% of the time in the given pay range. Yeah. So when we're doing, for example, you and I've talked about this, right? We outgrow people as we continue to outgrow. And as that momentum and we keep moving forward, an A player could help get you to 500,000, 750,000 in revenue. They might be able to help you get close to $1 million, but they're no longer going to become an A player.
Right.
You're going to need a different
A player in the market. You got a new A player that has to get you to the next level.
That's right. That's right.
Or you better get 2 really good A's.
For you, because you're really in the people game right now. So for you right now, what are you looking that is that A player in today's market?
For me, when Mark's in here, he's probably going to overhear this. Bringing on Market to help me with like all my listing stuff to help relieve some of the day-to-day. I mean, I can get the listings right, but the follow-ups and the amendments there's just so much of that I can do. So being able to remove that with somebody I feel comfortable with doing it and can handle it off the table, right? So now I can go back and focus on the lead gen. I can focus on who else we need to bring in to start trying to take this ship to a different direction. And I mean, you're right. The A's, the other part of the A is too, don't be afraid of bringing somebody in that you can see the potential in. If they might not be there yet, but their environment might not have supported it. And I've said this all the time. I used to tell Pat Christensen, who was my team leader at Keller, I was like, if you hire another new agent, you're gone. Just because she'd hired so many, it was an easy pick. But here's the thing, though. There was a brand new mega agent sitting in a classroom somewhere right now, even today. So you can't limit yourself to that kind of a thought process. But if you can see the talent, maybe they didn't exceed somewhere else, and you can help foster that, get them. Because they might be your hidden A player.
You made a good point there, and I always remember this from Gary Regish. I don't know if you remember Gary from Mastermind Days, and Gary's up in Michigan, and he he's like, I only bring in $2 to $10 million producers. That's it, 2 to 10 million. And he had 100 of them, and so it was 2 to 10 million. He's like, because if they can get to 2, I don't have to teach them 0 to 2. They already know how to get to 2. And then when they get above 10, they're wanting to start building teams, or wanting to do something else. And it changes my model. And he goes, I know my model, and my model is 2 to 10, 2 to 10. That's all. That's it. And I'm like, man, that's so brilliant. But it's so brilliant to stay disciplined too. And it's hard to be able to do that. But that's his people.
But you know what, though, that goes back to what you say, though. That's a batteries included person.
Oh, they got battery. They're batteries included. And you don't need to teach them anything else if they don't have a desire to go above the 10, right? And there are people that have the aspiration, and he's like, cool, get after it,
Yeah.
But
I'm here to help you, by the way. I mean, like in the companies that we're with, we now have a direct benefit. If you want to build a team, I'll help you build a team.
Right.
I'm glad to help you.
I'm building that people component, and for a lot of agents to get to that, that progression, the evolution from agent to CEO. For you, what was the hardest part?
it's just always the expectations. And that's why, like, when you said a minute ago, what do I want to do? I was forcing my expectations onto people as far as like what I wanted them to produce. Biggest game changer for me was, what do you want to produce?
Yeah.
And then fit you into the puzzle.
Right.
Because I just can't make somebody do my goal. Their goal has
Right.
to be their goal. And then I just have to, that's the biggest challenge is, where and you just said, like, he gets a $10 million, $11 million producer, that their goals don't no longer match his model. So that, I think that's the part is, and look, man, I've gone through so many freaking agents, and not the revolving door that some of my other bigger team friends do. I'm lucky there, but I'm real selective there. I don't just I don't just throw stuff against the wall and hope it sticks. I'd
Yeah.
rather take time, not bring somebody in, maybe not even get the business, right? But not
Yeah.
not have the disappointment or somebody that's going to say, "Hey, he didn't do what he said he was going to do."
Yeah.
That's a biggie for me. I don't want to fail anybody.
I
You
think
know,
that, and two, goes back to what you and I, what we talk about with our people is, agreements versus those expectations, and
and
really spending
sometimes they have to be
time.
reset. By the way, we talked about that. Expectations sometimes have to be reset.
Well, when the business is reinventing itself, when the business is changing, when the business is adapting to what the market's, throwing at it, availability, those roles, responsibilities, metrics of success, they change and they need to be revisited.
Yeah. And so what you're doing today might not be the same thing you're going to do tomorrow, or two
No,
weeks, a month from now. Um,
no, no, not at all.
there's a lot of stuff on the table. It's this challenging our business right now. We're going to see what happens.
Yeah.
Um, and then there again, it's going to be just another evolution of, do you adapt? Do you move forward? How do you cope with it? What do you do? And
Yeah.
and like you just said, I'm looking at it right now for what might be in place in January,
Right.
February, because we're already starting to train to what we need to be doing. So,
Yeah. I think that's a great point, right? Leadership overarches all of this, right? Being able to go to agent to CEO, there's leadership, and one of the you know keys to leadership is being able to get results from your
mm,
people, right?
yeah,
Being able to execute, being able to produce, right? So that overarching is leadership.
pour into
And
people. I mean, pour into them, right?
yeah,
You know what the proudest moment I have is somebody that if I've ever mentored them is like if there's a question posted somewhere on social media and they answer it and it's right, I'm like, that's my person right there. Man, they
yeah,
drilled it. They listened. They got it. I it's like a proud dad moment, man. Like it's like, boom, they got it.
yeah,
And that's what I would say that I absolutely pour into the people. I don't want to tell you what to do. I want you to understand what you're doing.
yeah,
I don't want to say, hey, you did this wrong. I want to say, hey, this is why we could do it better the next time.
yeah. It
So
is. It's so good. That's the overarching thing. And leading by example, you're getting results. You're getting your people to get results. You're getting the right people, on the bus or off the bus and into the right seats on the bus to be able to really perform for what the business truly needs to continue to navigate the waters in pursuit of where you're trying to go. Right.
and we're
That's
about to
that's
fill our bus up to the rim. I mean, we're now we've got the new vision, the new or the big goal, right? So our bus is about to really we're about to put more butts in the seats.
yeah,
But it's also going to be that we the right expectations are set, but that their work ethic, my work ethic, it all combines together to where it just makes a real cohesive group. And it's not pitting one against the other, by the way. I don't
yeah.
like that. We all win together.
Yeah, we all win together. I love that. Steve, as we wrap up, what, folks listening into this take away from this conversation and starting to really grasp their head around, what it takes to go from agent to CEO we want, we overestimate what we can do in a year and we underestimate what we can do in a decade, right? You're like, man, and I've always, understood that anything worth building that's sustainable, enduring takes 10 years. It takes, it's the 10,000 hour rule. It takes time. It takes repetitions. It just takes consistency, over time to where that really, to to really where you start to really, start reaping at a high level, reaping the, the benefits and the reward. What would you tell agents right now? We're about to head into Q4 of 23, getting ready to tee up 24, and a lot of uncertainty, a lot of change. A lot of agents are still grasped onto the unicorn years and not understanding this framework that we talked about today, or where should they? What's the one thing that they should be thinking about and taking away?
You gave us 2 books that, man, I just, I gobbled up and swallowed up, and it's been almost like my guide for the past 2 years. Who, not how.
Mm.
It's always a who problem. It's never a how problem. It's
Yeah.
one. And then the other one was the gap in the game.
Yeah.
It just allows ourselves to give, to recognize where we're at now, instead of trying to always be focused on the failure of not getting to the big part. The 10-year part, you gotta pat yourself on the back at every step along the way. You can't beat yourself up. That, man, I will tell you what, those, I could have read like the first 15 pages of The Gap, shut up the book, and walked away, and like I beat myself up for years over this, and that's the social media part too. Oh my God, they're over here doing this, they're doing that, then why am I not doing that? Now the clarity is mine.
Right.
I don't look at their stuff. Good for them. They just sold 5 houses. Great. I'm proud of you. I needed to sell 8. I sold 8. Perfect. We got 10. Even better. I don't look at what other people are doing anymore. I don't care.
It's so good. I'm glad you brought that up, because the biggest thing once you have a big vision is the way you think, and The Gap in the Gain is the number one, right? It is the number one book. Then you can get into mental model stuff and
there's a lot of books. I mean, there are. I mean, they could, but I'm telling you, like the clarity of where you want to go. You want to ask me what it is. You better know where you want to go, and then you start making the strategic moves right now that are actually 3 steps ahead to get you to the 5 steps you want to get to. So it's not the 3 steps are not today's results. The step I told you I've got 6 licenses now, or 5. I'm working on the 6. And I'm leveraging myself, right? But that's a move that I'm leveraging that's maybe 10 years down the road. I don't know, but it's I'm making the moves today, not for today, but for 3, 5, 10 years. I don't know, but you got to start here now. I love chess. I'm thinking what that guy's going to do when he makes his move after I make my move.
You're thinking moves
3 moves ahead.
I think it's a key point, right? My takeaway, even in Drucker, I know he talked about it a lot, and was one thing Crabtree beating our head on the financials is like 75% of your time on the future, what's going to happen, looking through the window, instead of 25% looking through the rear view mirror.
Right.
And we need to kind of understand that a little bit, but don't get consumed with what has happened. Where are we going? What are we trying to do? Let's get out in front of it. What has happened
is just the learning blocks for what you can predict will happen.
Yeah.
And you said it. I mean, I try to track and trend and look and evaluate and say, okay, here's what happened. Where can we go from here? Yeah. I mean, but for the person that's wanting to move from agent CEO, have your final destination in mind and work towards it. But gap in the gain, dude, like reward yourself along the way. Do not get caught down with, oh my God, I'm not sitting here making $500,000 and doing nothing.
Yeah.
Like whoever else down the street. You'll get there if that's what you want to do.
Remember,
it's a process.
I think, for me, obviously, all the running and stuff I'm doing, I mean, you got to remember you're running your own race, right? So that's I think that's a really good analogy of what you were saying, right? Don't pay attention to them. Run your own damn race.
But I will say this, and we were in Oklahoma, and everybody's like, go follow John. And I'm like, hey, you just remember this is an SOB that ran 100 miles. You can follow him if you want to.
Wow.
But I got my limit. I know where I'll follow him to, and then it's done.
Yeah. I love it. It's
let's go follow somebody that runs 100 miles. If I run 100 miles, I'd be right there with you.
Yeah.
Doing it.
Oh my God. I love it, man. Steve, I appreciate you, man. Always great catching up, and it was very fitting that you were here to kick off the agent to CEO conversations, and you guys listening in, connect with Steve.
call him. I mean, look, if you're not in this coaching group, it's worth it. Truly. It's not about the cost, right? It's about the end result. So, John, thank you. I wanted to interrupt you for a second. Thank you for everything you've done for me. It's been life-changing for me as well. So thank you.
I appreciate that, brother. Appreciate you. And I know, look forward to catching up, looking forward to that big future that you've got out in front of you. And we're just going to keep making it happen.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Awesome. See you guys.